Back. Now what are we going to check out next? Well, first of all, you'll notice no green screen this time. I'm inside the woods, and if you see anything scary out there, just don't tell me in the comments. I'll just get freaked out. But what I want to do this lesson is I want to start moving away from these then calls inside other then calls, right? So we start having this what we call callback hell in the old callback setup, but promises and promises and promises might just get harder and harder to read. Now this is a pretty simple scenario. You only have one then inside another then, so it's not that complex to read still, but we can make it even easier to read by using the async await. Now that pretty much means that we will stop our code at certain points, we'll get the result, and then we'll go onwards to the next point, right? So pretty much meaning that I can start saying, I don't want to go further than line 15 until this data is back. Then I want to go further, right? Just like we're kind of doing right here, it's just hard to read. Let me try and show you what I mean right here. First of all, you need to learn about the term async. So you can put in async in front of pretty much any method like this that we are using inside our setup. So a promise can receive this async information right here. You just need to put it in front of the parameters you're getting inside that promise. In our case right here, the resolve and reject. So when I put this in here, I'm actually allowed now to start using what we call the await term. Let me try and show you that, and then we can try and dive deeper into what it's all about. So what do I want to do right here? Well, right here I'm actually calling a delete function, right? And that delete function, I want to right here put that in here just copy pasting it. I don't want to put any code inside this then right here. Instead, what I want to do is I want to return the result right here. So let's just say constant result equals like this. Now you'll notice this will actually right now return the promise itself. But if I put await in front of this, this will actually be the actual result, just like you would get down here if I wrote value, right? So this is now the actual result that I'm getting back from the promise. So that means that the code right here, I'll never go to line 16 until this code is fully executed. You'll remember if I go back to kind of just executing it, then we'll just execute this code and continue to the next line, right? But with the await in here, it says don't continue until you've followed and done this then right here. The promise is executed and you have a result for me. Then you can continue to line 16 and do something else. So that's kind of the idea behind the async await right here, is that you're not allowed to continue executing code right here until you're actually done with the code that I'm awaiting, right? That's why it's so valuable. So let me just try and show you what happens if I remove the async up here. You'll actually get an exception. You'll be told that await expression needs to be declared within an async function. And that's why, again, you need to add the async right here, because this is actually now an async function, right? So that's why you need that term up there. So if you're getting like the error you see right here that you need to add the async, remember to put it up here, or else you won't be able to do this. And again, that means that now I can actually execute this guy, and it won't continue on line 16 until I actually got the result that I'm waiting for. Now that means that I can go now and copy this guy all the way to the then, right? I can just add that right below, like this. Just execute that guy. And then again, this guy will also give me a result, right? Again, I'm pretty much just, if you notice right here, I'm just working on the code, right? And if I go back here, that'll return some kind of result as well. And let me just do another const right here, result, like this, from storage, just to make it give it a different name. And here we'll do the await again. Wait, there we go. And that pretty much means that now this guy will be executed. And again, notice the code gets a lot easier to read because we can kind of follow it now line by line. So this will be executed. Nothing else will happen until we get to, until this is done executing, pretty much meaning that we now have the value that we used earlier. And then we execute this code. Nothing will happen until that's executed. And then we'll go to the next step right here. And you'll notice the final thing I'm doing when I'm done is actually calling the result right here. So what I can do here in the end now is just say resolve all the way down here. So let's have a look at the new code compared to the old code. Now, first of all, you'll notice this guy, I don't even need this guy. So I'll just add the wait on its own. I don't have to return a result. It doesn't matter. As long as you put in the wait and say don't execute anything until you're done with this guy. When you're done with that, then you can go to the next step, if that makes sense. Okay, so now I have this result. I have result. So now I have this result available from the storage, and I have the resolve. So this is the new code right here. And in my mind, this is a lot easier to read because I can follow it kind of step by step, right? Compared to this, where we have the first promise executing, inside that guy we have another promise executing, and it could continue having multiple inside each area. It could have multiple promises executed and could just keep going into this huge crazy tree, right? So that's the promise part. And now you can start using async await if you don't want things to happen inside promises, right? But how do we handle the exceptions, right? And that you can actually do something very simple. You can just wrap all this in a try catch like this. Whoops. Like this. So I'll add the try right here and I'll put all my code inside that try. And if everything goes wrong, I'll get a catch, of course, and I'll add the catch down here. And I'll say if I get an error at any point, just reject like we did before, right? Now that's just, in my mind, the code is so much easier to read right here compared to the code that we had down here. It's up to you, but it's just a way of rewriting your code. Now I'll keep this old code here just to kind of give you guys a view of it if you want to, but I think this is a lot easier to read just by adding the async and the await. So we'll just try and push this to live and have a look if it still runs and we can still delete everything like we expect. So the function is deployed. Let's just try and have a simple look right here. There's something here, class 2020. I'll just delete that. It's gone, it seems. I get an event back that it was deleted. Try and jump into Firebase. Now there should only be 3 files available. And there we go, it just deleted it. So everything still runs as it should. And again, the only difference now is that instead of having the code where we have promises and promises, now we have something called async await, so we can asynchronously explain to the code whenever we want to wait for a reply from a promise instead of executing the code right away. Sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes it's better if you can do this asynchronously, just to send all the events as one. But right now I decided that I want to do it step by step anyway, so it's a lot easier to read the code in my mind right here. But that's how async await works. Simple stuff. And that's it for this lesson. See you next time. Have fun.